I didn't hear it.
I'm like, yeah, we don't have it. Like, oh wait, we have it.
No, we have one.
Steve doesn't count.
Yeah, I am not. No.
I have no idea on the process, so I'm glad you're.
I opened this window. Is that too cold for you? It was so hot. Just really hot.
You're awesome.
Oh, for the corner things?
Yeah, and they added a term, so that you're in the cul-de-sac. It makes sense because if you just say cul-de-sac,
did you see that somebody after it talked about it on Facebook about shirts and stuff?
oh yeah, I don't know if I saw that one.
I answered, because they had mentioned, anyway, I shared our current code with them that I thought, no, look, see, somebody's questioning your curious. Oh, what fun! You got all these fun kiddos. Good, how are you? Yes, I do. Yes. They're all going down to Zion's. Nate Hells, he's way into these resort places that he rents out and so a whole bunch of different. Hey, so were you in that conversation that Lori asked me about, hey, if we get to donate $20,000, we get a name? So I asked her again today, and she's going to talk to her mom and see if the Ward family wants to do that. That would be rad.
I need those.
Did you get your poster?
I think we have 6
You
o'clock.
like how it looks?
I misunderstood. I thought you were saying there's only one left.
We are 6.
Okay.
You like how it looks? Okay,
Debbie,
ready to rock and roll?
push the button. Let's start.
Ready? Ready?
Or is it Amy pushing the button? Yes.
Jacqueline?
We'd like to bring this meeting to order today, please. Thank you. And you don't have to do it right this second, but we want you to sign in as for your attendance, either as somewhere now or as you leave. You can sign in. But anyway, we'd like to welcome you to this April 28th meeting of the Pleasantville City Council. I'm Steve Gibson. I am not mayor. Paul. But he is not feeling very well today, so he asked me to step in, and so it's my privilege to do that today. We'd like to open this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, opening prayer, reading, or expression of thought, and that'll be offered by Council Member Phil Nelson.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're very grateful for the opportunity to gather as City Council and members of our community tonight to discuss the issues of the city and the opportunities we have before us. Please bless that Thy Spirit might be here with us, that we might make the decisions that are best to guide this community and keep it the wonderful place that it is to live. We're very grateful for the place we live and the opportunities we have. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ.
Yeah. On a personal note, thank you, youth, for repeating that Pledge of Allegiance. I'd shed a tear here for a minute if I wasn't more of a man. But thank you very much. That was very, very nice. I appreciate you doing that. Council, any conflicts of interest we need to declare? Item C, public comments or questions for the Mayor and City Council. We'd like to limit that to 3 minutes, if there are any. And these are for questions that are not on the agenda for today. State your name and address, please.
Heidi Nielsen.
That not on?
Okay. Heidi Nielsen, Nielsen. My address is 331 West Alberta. Seeking an update on the transportation master plan. I've checked out the websites. I've kept an eye out for information on. There's supposed to be a public meeting and surveys, and I haven't seen notification about any of that.
I'm happy to provide that update. So we are currently in progress on that. We will be pushing out some notification, likely in the next month or two, have that public open house. Right now, they've been doing some research, study, and analysis on our traffic patterns. And then we've been meeting with surrounding communities. So that's where we're at right now, but we will be having those public outreach coming very soon.
How will that information be?
So it'll be posted on our website and in our newsletter. And if you'd like, I'm happy to take your email address and make sure that we get you that information on the agenda.
If you'd like to leave some information with Amy, she'll be happy to get that to you. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
Thank you for your interest.
Okay, well, and you guys are going to stay for the whole meeting, right? All right, you don't have to. Item number 2, the Loman View Robotics Club. Wow. Recognizing the accomplishments of winning the state tournament and future competition. And I apologize, I don't know who it's going to. And Gina?
How much? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for having us.
Oh, thank you for being here.
So I'm Angina Erickson, and my husband, Aaron Erickson. We're the coaches over at Loman View Elementary for the robotics program. And really quickly, we'll introduce our teams here. We have 3 of our 4 teams here tonight. So go ahead and just say your name. We have our Dire Wolves team. Want to say your name really quickly? Get really loud.
Use your outdoor voices. Start over. Good. There you go. Wonderful.
Okay, so we've been coaching over there about 6 years, and we've been doing the Lego robotics program. And this year we transitioned to a totally different and completely new program. So it's been kind of a learning curve for us and the students, but the students really rose to the challenge. I mean, they really have impressed us this year. We had 4 teams, as I mentioned, and 3 of these teams actually made it to the state competition, which is a huge deal because only 50 teams out of the entire state get invited to go to the state competition. So we have all these 3 made it to state, and then we actually had 1 team that is doesn't like me. So we actually had 1 team that's progressing on to the world's competition.
Wow.
So they will actually be representing our school and our community in Dallas, Texas, here coming up in May 10th through the 12th. So that's a huge accomplishment. They'll be competing with over 600 teams from all over the world. I mean, there's teams coming from Morocco, from Ghana, from Ireland, from Australia. So pretty neat deal. So, and that's our Dire Wolves.
Is this the winning? Is this the winning robot or whatever?
Yeah. So actually, they won with a different robot, but in order to be competitive at the world's level, they actually built an entire new robot within about a month's time. So they've been working day and night. And
is this the one that's going to go into the world?
This is the robot that will actually go to the world's competition.
What do the competitions consist of? What do they do?
So we're actually going to have Eli here tell us a little bit about, because this is a very student-centered program. So I thought it best to let him talk about.
So this is basically a map of the field that we put our robots on. These yellow spots are where you can start your robot, and you're trying to get all of these balls either into this area right here or this basket. If you clear these sides, you get 5 extra points. Each ball counts as 2 if you can get it into this logo, and 6 if you can get it into this high one.
How big is the field, Eli?
So
So they shoot it like a catapult, or what happened?
Yeah, that's what you can do for the basket. But our team, we had this collection mechanism where we can get all these balls and then put it into this local, which is just a bar.
Are you guys, do you have like certain materials that you can use, things that are off limits? How do you design your robot? How do you decide this is the robot we're going to build?
So Mrs. Erickson, she helped us and she like gave us examples and she showed us these Omni wheels that like if you these wheels can go this way and they have these you can move that. So we have a button on our
So
remote that
so they can go
starts
in
this
many directions.
size of the balls there.
So yours
You-
would collect them and drive it into the goal, essentially.
Do you have any control over the robot when once it starts? You just let it go and it does its own work, right? Or do you?
Actually, we could do that, but we chose to drive it with our.
Have a remote?
Is there a time thing as well? I mean, is there a, so you, wow.
1 minute to get it from point A to point B.
All of them.
Awesome.
How often do you guys meet? What kind of commitment does this require of the students at home?
So when we were doing practices, we usually met every Friday, 7 a.m. at school, and we practiced until the bell went off at 8:35.
Till 8:35.
Do any of your robots clean your rooms? Do you know how to do that? Just pick up tennis balls? Awesome.
That's the second
Yeah,
version
that's
coming out soon.
really cool.
So when will we know about the world? When is that competition? Do you have a backup just in case you trip and
Break the robot?
extra parts? I was telling the guys as they first came in, when I played with Legos, I couldn't get them to stick together sometimes. But how do you just put a little super glue on them, or do they have to be and take?
Can we look at your robot?
No, let's not do
So-
Touch
that.
it.
When you go to competition, are you like more nervous at competition than at practice? Is it more nerve wracking? Yeah. So how do you get past those nerves? What do you do?
I kind of just deal with it.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah.
Just deals with it.
You get more than one chance in a competition, or how many tries do you get?
So we have a couple rounds, and we drive with other teams. So 2 teams are on the board, and they have a combined score.
Do we have sponsorships? How do they travel to Dallas? Is it parents?
Yes, how did you do that? Did you raise all the money then? And the district doesn't pay for this? No.
Well, Dire Wolves, we are so excited that you're representing Pleasant View, and all the rest of you too. But we wish you the best in your competition, and hope there's no nerves. Just like he says, you have to deal with it if there are. But you guys are professionals now on the world stage. That's nothing. Any other comments? Oh,
You have more check?
okay, perfect. Okay, good.
So I learned that working as a team can be really fun sometimes. If you have
friends and on your team.
So I learned that trial and error is really, really important. In building this robot, we had to disassemble it a couple times, try new ideas. We were originally going to have a basket, like an underpiece to the cage mechanism to launch it into the Heigl, but we ran out of time, and yeah, trial and error is really, really important.
We so ours is failure can lead to very good things. So if you fail, then you can try again, and if you keep trying, you may get it to
How many times did Thomas Edison fail with the light bulb? A ton.
What I learned about working with a team is that the thing is that really nice things about it is because you will always get like all these new ideas from everybody.
Good.
What I learned is that teamwork is really important in that sometimes when you're using a programming thing that you have to switch it around and make changes.
Are these your trophies that you have here in front of you? Neat.
Really cool.
What I learned is you have to keep trying because when we started our robot, it was like really bad, but we kept trying and switching the parts, and eventually it got really good and we made it to state.
Wonderful.
What I learned is that teamwork is very important, and that every time there would be like an argument or disagreement, we would be able to work it out and then for the best solution.
I'm proud of two things. One is that we're an all-girls team, and the other is that like we got our robot really late because of shipping delays from COVID, so we didn't have a lot of time to build, program, and drive our robot. So I'm amazed that we did very well.
Awesome. Thanks.
Good job, you guys.
Is that okay? Can I just come up here and stand in front of you and I'll get a picture of you guys?
Come right here along the.
Sarah, do you want me to grab it?
You gotta make the council look good. So cool. We just want to come back to you. Which camera are we looking at? Awesome, guys.
Good
All
job.
right, thanks for coming.
So Dallas is when? When do we know? May 10th? Awesome.
So cool.
Really awesome.
We look forward to honoring you again May 11th. Hopefully I didn't just jinx somebody.
Thank you. No, I didn't say that.
Okay, item number 2, or excuse me, item number 3. Deer Crest 6 A and B Consideration of preliminary subdivision approval of Deer Crest 6 A and B located at approximately 4275 north, 1400 west. I guess Amy, oh no, excuse me, Amber's here. I'm sorry, I don't recognize you as Amber. I'm sorry. I knew you.
Fun with the AM names.
Amber, thank you.
Okay. Should I put this back?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. We have anything to show on there, or just talk? I'll just talk about it.
We have it in packets.
You have the packet. Okay. So for Deer Crest Phase 6 A and B, the Planning Commission reviewed this on April 21st of this month, or yeah, this year, and they recommend approval with conditions. And the following are the conditions. First, they recommended implementing a water efficient park strip with water-wise plants and a drip irrigation. Next, that the applicant comply with water retention requirements and satisfy all department staff review comments. So the Planning Commission in this review found that in order for the development to meet the general plan, they recommended that the subdivision park strips meet a more water efficient streetscape, as the state has goals to implement more of these types of landscaping. The commission felt that it would be good to recommend this for the new developments going in, and also have staff work on an ordinance to bring to you, to the commission and you, to work on creating an ordinance for park strips that regulate how it's irrigated and what plant materials go in there that are water efficient. And so they make a recommendation to City Council that the preliminary subdivision of Deer Crest Phase 6 A and B be approved with those conditions. Do you have any questions?
Questions from the council?
So I didn't actually see it's hard to tell on the map here, but it's just the upper edges of the current.
Was up to pretty much up to 4,300.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so are we moving towards the gravel pit then? Northwest then? Okay.
I don't know where the phases start. They're both, if that's okay.
Yeah, it's hard to see. I'll work on
Oh,
that.
it's inside of that. Okay.
That'll pretty much, this is the last potential. Is there more development that can go further towards the gravel pit? Or
Carson,
that's gonna hit
I think, is there two more or one more? One more after.
one more? Okay.
That's going west.
Below 40 to the county line.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, okay.
Right in our roadway.
Is there the recommendation on the water reduction? Is there any studies or any idea what kind of water reduction we're going to get from this? Or I don't know.
You know, we've talked about this before, and I'm sorry, we talked about changing that park strip for quite a long time, last year and this year. It's always silly to have water. I mean, when they try to water that, most of that water goes down the gutter. So I do think we need to, with Planning Commission's recommendation, really look at that.
Respectively.
I don't like rocks in there. They just tend to be all over everywhere, and I don't know exactly what we want to recommend, but a water-wise, and really that was my question. What is a water-wise park strip?
Well, essentially comes down to how it's irrigated, and then using plants that need minimal to no water, especially after being established, wouldn't need as much water. But at first, they have to have water to establish growth. But there's approved water-wise plants lists out there.
I think there's a state, we talked about it at Planning Commission, isn't there? A state recommendation?
There isn't, well, yeah, there's different programs, like I'm sure you've heard of the Jordan Valley Water Conservation District. They have flip your strip programs. They have approved plant lists that we can use in our code and reference.
So to me, this is more on the homeowner's responsibility and not the developer.
Well,
Yeah.
For now it is until we have an ordinance.
But if we put this on the developer, he's going to sell the lot and And then how are we gonna tell that the property owners has to do that? I
Yeah,
don't-
and so right now, our code does allow for water wise, but it doesn't require the water wise or enforce anything. And so that's where it really gets into the policy.
So by having this, we're approving
We're recommending
the preliminary subdivision
approval of the preliminary subdivision with
and then put this recommendation on it. I just don't know how that fits, I guess is what I'm saying. I mean,
It's just a recommendation moving forward to put language into
It puts
our
a
code
directive to us as
Yes.
staff to do
Okay.
and
something.
encourage the
with
homeowner.
It's an
to do that,
encouragement.
but that doesn't put anything really on
There's
Deercrest
no-
or
Yeah,
or
there's
the
no-
decision tonight, I guess is what
No.
I'm saying.
Yeah, no, there's no teeth or decision in that part tonight.
just a recommendation here.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision of Deer Crest. Was it phase 6?
6A and B.
6 A and B located at approximately 4275 north and 1400 west with the conditions and the recommendations that planning commission and staff has implemented.
A motion,
I'll second that.
second, by Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Oh, sorry. No, in
You made-
favor. I didn't say anything. I said that.
A motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Debbie, we you okay? You following it? Okay. Okay, item number 4. This is continuation of a tabled item, animal
Carson, just like that.
Now, wait a minute.
You've got your ducks in your all so do we. We're good.
Well, yes, a side note, with Carson not having to say anything or chase him out, it's a little bit different. I don't understand.
This has been going on for a while, Carson.
Is this the end of the world? The changes? Carson, thank you so much for being a good member of our community. Thank you. Anyway, item number 4, animal regulations. This is a continuation of a tabled item. Consideration to amend Animal Regulation City Code 6 to update definitions and to adopt the use of forms ordinance 2022-10. Officer Talbot or Lieutenant Talbot, I guess, are you going to be heading this up? Or
Yeah, yep. So, yeah, we tabled this last time we brought it up, and there was just a couple of questions on some definitions. I want to appreciate Phil and Ann for emailing me back and forth and getting me some ideas on that. If you look at 6-4, under the definitions, under number 5, we changed the definition of at large. It says an animal shall be considered to be at large when said animal is off the owner's property and not under immediate control by means of a durable restraint device capable of keeping the animal restrained, or an animal that is on the property of the owners and not securely confined by a leash, building, fenced area, or appropriate transport device. Phil, I think that's just the exact definition that you emailed me, and I thought that fit really well.
So I just had a question about that though. So if an animal is on the property and they're not restrained, that's an at-large. I have a little bit I'm concerned about that wording, that even if it's on the owner's property, it has to be restrained by,
And I think
by a
it's
fence.
only off the owner's property.
It says the second
So like
part
if they
is,
run off your property?
it's even if it's on the property. So second part is an animal that is on the property of the owner and not securely confined by a leash, building, fenced area, or appropriate transport device. So I agree. I mean, this comes back to the whole issue of, do we want a leash law or not? And so,
I think we do outside of their property, but I have a hard time telling or saying a property owner as their animal's not taken care of, but it's on their property, regardless of whether it's restrained or not. If it leaves a property, then it's.
Maybe that's what it is. It's
But-
like if somebody's walking down the street, they're out in the front yard, the animal going after them because they're not restrained. So,
that's my thought. Sorry, Anna.
At that point, they've left the property, then they're not restrained.
Then they are at
We're
large.
restrained.
They're at large, right?
So
They've left the property.
could we, because I agree, I mean, so the first part, I put the capable of keeping the animal restrained. And then we have the or on an animal that is on the property of the owner and is not securely confined by a leash, building fenced area, or inappropriate or appropriate
appropriate.
transport device. So that would be where I would question that too.
Can we just get rid of the or?
Yeah. I don't
An
know.
animal that is on the
So
property
just,
of the
I
owner,
think,
not
so
securely.
just get rid of where it says, just that one part of it that says or an animal, just take the
Yeah.
property part of that
I
out.
mean, I would scratch that because I mean, this really is at large, outside of the owner's
I
property.
mean, I think maybe we need wording that says that they need to restrain them on their, I mean, they need to keep their animals on the property, but
That's the debate.
the debate, right?
the
Well, and I
county-
almost think that's implied with that first one though, because they're at large if they're not on the property, and so there's, I mean, suddenly it
Yeah,
transitions to that.
that's not a requirement. I mean, if they come off of their property and they're not restrained, then they're at large. But if they're on their property, I think we have to be really careful about that wording because there's thousands of ways to restrain an animal. I mean, verbal or whatever, different things. And they can keep them on their property, but they're not doing any harm. And if they are on their property and they are doing harm, is that a problem? I
I
don't
think
know.
this is the county's ordinance that this language is mirrored, and I think it's probably to prevent an issue as opposed to resolve an issue that's already occurred, right? If they're off the property, then there's something else, but I think it's to tell somebody that, hey, your dog, I don't know.
Well,
How many dogs stay on the
see,
property?
and we're trying to enforce something. I think that's kind of what we need to look at as well. We're trying to enforce something that's out of control. I don't think if I had a pet, a dog, if it's on my property, that's my problem, and that's somebody else's problem too. Or not that somebody else's problem, but if it goes off of my property, then uncontrolled, then that's where we do have a problem. And so I think that last or and then all the way to the end, I think that should be out.
So are we still covered?
Is this the exact wording of Weber County?
County, so I'm just trying to figure out why the county worded it that way.
Yeah, and I
I'm
think,
assuming it's-
I feel more comfortable taking that out because we've kind of beefed up our consequences, if you will, for bite and attack. You know, I think this might be, you know, somebody dropping off the mail or something and that you have no control of your dog on your property. It still went and bit somebody that was going up to knock on your door. However, because we added in animal attack and bite, those things in our ordinance, they would be covered under that.
Okay,
Okay.
as long as they're covered somewhere else, because that was the
Yeah,
concern
so
I
I'm
had, too.
comfortable taking that out because we have that other stuff in there.
Okay.
Perhaps that was more of a preemptive thing.
I think that might be pertaining more to like somebody comes to knock on your door and your dog's out of control, even if it's on your own property, you know.
So can I just confirm what we're taking off? Then it's after restrained or an animal that is on the property. That whole last sentence.
Yep.
Do you have questions, Ann?
No, I got it covered.
Bill?
So if you turn to 6-7, the one thing that we did that's not highlighted was we had the charge to relinquish a dog or a cat. I'm sure y'all have seen in the news and stuff, like dogs and stuff are getting relinquished like crazy now. They're saying people went and got animals as from COVID, and now they're going back to work, and now they don't have them, so they're just relinquishing them. Our relinquish fee was really low; it was $100. So, kind of hasn't been a huge problem. It just started, but I think $100 is we can't afford to take dogs in and rehome them and go through the process for $100. So I felt like we needed to change that to $250. That
Even if we have them here for a while, we're caring for them, and then if they go to the Weber County shelter, then we have to pay a fee and different things.
Where is that? Where are you showing that? What page?
6-7. It's under B where it says charge to relinquish an owned dog or cat.
That might be a little bit of a deterrent.
Yeah, and yeah, and like I said before, you kind of want to make it so that it's easier to deal with it yourself than to just bring it to us.
What does it mean to relinquish? If it's just out on the street?
No, so
and
like
you
if
know
you own
whose
a dog,
it is?
if you own a dog and you don't want it anymore, you bring it down and relinquish it to animal control.
You can't put it in.
So what if we capture the dog, they don't want it back, and we know it's theirs? Does that relinquishing the dog? I don't know.
They would have to relinquish it to us.
Yeah, and so that's where a lot of those forms come into place with,
Yep.
you know, if we get an animal and the microchip shows up, if we can
There's
prove
an
ownership.
there's an abandoned part in here too, isn't there? There's a section that we added in here with the prior that is about abandonment. You know, that situation. You know, but this relinquish thing, we've had Jesse's getting calls every
like
day.
the last
people-
month we've had several calls. It's really interesting, and they're like, wow, that's a steal to come and drop off my dog.
Yeah. Well, in fact, we've had people from other places call and saying, "Hey, we heard you guys will let us relinquish a dog for $100." You know, and
Wow.
like, no,
Not if you don't live here.
not after tonight. So
So because we're not paying into the Weaver Animal Shelter, can a Pleasantview resident not take their animal to the shelter?
they got to bring it to us. So basically, what we're doing is they would bring it to us, pay the thing, and then we would take ownership after so many days, and then we would relinquish it to Weaver County. And that fee was, you know, and that's like, we went through all the cost, just the cost of us doing that is like right around $250 just by the time we take it in, feed it for just a couple, 3 days or so, you know, then we own the dog, and then we go relinquish it to them and whatever they charge. Like that $250, we're not making anything on that. It's just, that's barely going to cover the cost
That's
of us.
not even always an option or a guaranteed option with the county because we don't have an agreement with them. So it may be finding another
Yep.
resource
So-
to take the animal, and there's sometimes requirements to go through a vet, and there's a lot of different things required with it.
Yeah, cool.
Any questions on that, or we're good? So the next part was under D. Number 2, it says residents renting a cage are responsible for what is captured and trapped in the cage. Before we had in there about and humanely taking care of that. We just took that out. They're so humane to define that is there's so many different ways, and it's kind of a matter of opinion, I think, and that's not what you really want in this. So we basically just thought we'd just leave it at that, to where, hey, you know, you rent the cage, you're responsible for what's in it. We do like if they end up trapping a cat or something, Jesse's good about trying to find ways to help them, but they still are responsible to take it and get it a home or take it to a shelter. It's on them. As far as raccoons and stuff go, that's DWR. We would just refer them to them. They call them. So
We did confirm that they could go in the garbage though, right? That was
yep.
bag.
Under 13
Well,
You have to weigh your
bigger than
raccoons
that.
pounds.
Well, and we have an ordinance, so you can shoot them here in Pleasantview, which, as long as on your own property, that bullet does not leave your property.
I actually had a text the other
Not
day.
con- not considered at large.
Raccoon, and
That's-
I said, well, they're like, seriously?
I'm on 3 so far this season.
That's one ordinance that I'm
Like
going
fire
to stand behind. I like that ordinance.
So, and I try to do it on Tuesday night so I can go in the garbage on Wednesday for the garbage.
That's the 15 pound, sorry. So
Oh,
Weaver
cute.
County Solid Waste Management says you can put dead animals weighing less than 15 pounds into garbage carts. When disposing of dead birds, wear gloves, enclose and tie the bird in a plastic bag and wash your hands thoroughly when finished. I would say when handling any dead animal, not just birds.
Bird gloves. Get your mouth.
We have had questions about the turkeys. I mean, the
Yeah.
bird flu or whatever's going around. And I guess I've never seen turkeys in Pleasantview until just recently. Yeah, I've never seen them running around. I've seen them in the valley, but turkeys are not part of that.
Vultures, by the way, they're protected.
Yeah, no, turkeys aren't.
So are the turkeys.
That's them. Go ahead. We did, we have
So the only other part that we added in was this
0.4.
6-8 on page 6-8, 6.4.110. This at large prohibited again. Philip got this. So did you get this from Weaver County?
Yeah, we may want to then do the same thing, which is after the semicolon. or any animal on the premises of the owner and not securely confined by a leash, building, or fence area. We may want to
Take that out.
redline that out as well.
Number 5 kind of addresses that as well, on the owners.
Yeah. So
That kind of covers they need to be in control even on your own property. So I think if you take out those 2 parts where we talked earlier, that number 5 kind of covers.
I like how that's worded while they're on their property.
Under control means.
Yeah.
So I kind of had a question. So if somebody's got a dog out here at the park and it's catching a frisbee or something, does that fall underneath like the field trials or whatever, obedience activities?
So the county one says, right there on number 1, it says animals may be at large while participating in field trials and obedience classes. I actually changed that to just activities because, like I said before, I drive around the city every day. I see people out enjoying their dogs and their animals that are under control. They're obeying them. We get very few calls of problems at the parks and stuff with dogs. So I want them to be able to do those activities and not have to walk up and say, "Hey, who's the teacher of this class?"
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I like that.
So that's
You know,
kind of why I would change that to activities.
The couple things that I was not part of this original thing I was on, but the poop that's on the parks, when you let somebody out and you go and you play soccer and you step in something, that drives me nuts. And then just the safety, if you have some kid get bit or something like that, even if they're playing frisbee, I think we need to take care of the safety of the people that don't have it.
Yeah, and I forget that you weren't here. I kind of addressed that last time. I shouldn't say me, Jesse, and Tony, we wanted to have an ordinance that would allow people to do those things and enjoy their dogs in the park as they do now, because we don't have a lot of problems with them. However, prior to some of the changes we did, there really wasn't very much consequence for your dog being out of control or biting. They could come in and pay Amanda 20. We'd go side and she could come in and pay her $25 10 times. Now we've kind of made it to where it's a mandatory court appearance, and what that does is cover if the dog bites your kid, you go to the doctor. That guy's got to come to court, the owner of the dog, and the judge could issue restitution for your co-pay or whatever you had to pay, and also it's kind of gets enhanced first and second and third offense.
And not all of the fees, though, we've gone over yet with this, with the council, because remember there was the other fees.
Yeah, we haven't.
Yeah, we had the regular fee schedule, but there's another schedule we'll be bringing forward.
Yeah, the bail schedule, we haven't completely finished that up yet, but we will. But basically, this ordinance, we wanted there to be some consequence for your dog, being out of control. So
it looks like it'll be a Class B. Is that what we're saying?
For a bite.
Last section, very last page, 6-19. Any person violating any provision of this title, and I'm assuming it's all under the same title, shall be deemed guilty of a Class B.
We didn't want it to be affordable to be irresponsible.
Well, I think that's good because there's been a lot of incidents and you need to make it count.
And you got to make it commensurate with, say, other cities or county. You got to stay in the ballpark for everybody. Everybody will come to Pleasant View because the fines are cheaper to relinquish their dog or pay a fine.
Yeah.
So we need to have it similar to other communities.
Well, I remember I had a dog come through my fence, wrought iron fence, get in the cage with my 2 rabbits, kill both rabbits. And I remember they were my kids' rabbits. And I didn't dare do anything to the dog. And so I wait till the animal control officer gets here. This was about 10 years ago. But there was nothing at the time. There was literally, it was nothing we could really do. And so I like the idea of having a penalty associated with that.
It still gives us leniency or officer discretion on how to handle it. There are penalties that we can impose if we need to.
Any other questions?
No, I'd like to make a motion that we.
Okay.
Good. Go ahead.
I have a question, but
Hey, please go ahead.
my question's on B, and I might be the only one around here that has large animals, but
Where are you looking?
sorry, they're right below the 610 or the 110, the one highlighted on that same
On page
6.8, 6.8, and it's B, line B. No cattle, horses, mules, sheep, goats, or swine shall be allowed to run at large or be picketed or staked out or driven upon any street, sidewalk, or other public place. I guess the question I have is I understand the running at large picketed or staked out, kind of a question I have. I don't know if that comes from the county one at all, but is that only on a street, is what we're saying?
I think that's our existing code. That's what's currently in it.
Already had.
So I don't know. Yeah, I think that would just be, what does that mean?
Like,
But
Is that
that's
a
a,
hobbled horse?
Yeah, if you're tied to a fence on a public, I read it differently until just now, but I read it as being staked out, period.
Public place.
But if it's staked out upon a street, any street, sidewalk, or public place.
Yeah, it's any public
So
space.
private property, we're not.
Oh,
there's
100%.
no-
You could
nothing
put
to
a
do with
goat on
that.
it.
Yeah, you can.
now wait a minute,
'cause-
but if I'm at large, because you could ride a horse
Yeah.
controlled
Yes.
and tie it up in Shady Lane Park, couldn't you? Or you can't. under this.
We don't allow any horses in public parks. Like on
Well,
grass.
but you've got the riding thing down
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Shady Lane. So if I wanted to ride my horse up to Shady Lane Park to ride in the arena,
Which a lot of people do.
a lot of people do, I can't tie the horse up outside that.
Yeah,
Or
you
in-
can.
I
You
can?
can. What this is talking about is like
Feeding it.
like staked out, like drive a stake in the ground. Like I know when I worked in South Weber, a guy staked his goats in the park to eat in a spot that he felt like was overgrown, and so I don't know. Maybe that's just what came to my mind when I read that was we don't want
That's the question. In cowboy speak, what does staked and picketed mean?
But like when you hobble your horse.
That's what I'm saying. Is it a hobbled horse or is it a?
Staked, I wouldn't say hobbled, but hobbled could be.
I don't know.
and I think in the park we have designated areas to tie your horse. So like Jesse would go down and cite him for tying it to the tie rail that we put there.
Yeah, I think anywhere around Shady Lane Park, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Could be tied up. I think this is more intended for feeding the animal along a public street, right?
Feeding them or tying them to the goalpost of the soccer field or tying them up. Like we had somebody go down there and tie them up to the slide while their kids played on the slide and stuff. So
Yeah, okay.
Good, Dave, good?
I just want to make sure, because I'm probably the only one around. I've led steers down public streets. I don't know if you can.
And that show, right, it says can't be driven upon any street, staked out or driven. So that's what I was
think we're
gonna
gonna have
ask.
any
Do we have
cattle
cattle
drives?
drives in Pleasantview?
Yeah, you're
we don't have cattle drives, but I've led my horse down.
Has it been leashed? I mean,
Yeah,
do
they're
you
not.
leash a
Well, until
horse?
it drugged me down the street. But
Yeah.
But if you got steers,
So this section is talking about them being at large. So this
Okay.
is talking about
all right.
as long as your
I just-
steers.
You're in control of them.
Yeah, I just don't want to get too far away from our roots a little bit here.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate
that
your
was my
perspective.
my
Yeah.
concern. I don't have any concerns on it right now. I think
Okay.
the intent is good as well. What the officers have done here is awesome. So
And I just want to do a big shout out to obviously Lieutenant Stetson and then Anthony and oh my heck, Jesse. Why is it they've worked so hard on this and I'm just so impressed with the forms, with everything they've pulled together on this. It's been a lot of work and really thank you so much for the effort on this because it wasn't an easy lift, but it needed to happen and appreciate that. Jesse.
I'm glad that this has come about.
Sorry.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we amend the Animal Regulation City Code 6 and adopt ordinance 2022-10 with the red lines as stated.
There's a roll call. Harrington.
Yes.
Gibson, yes. Marriott.
yes.
Nelson.
yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, it's approved.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Okay, item number 6. No, item number 5, excuse me. I want to skip over that one again. Assisted living. This is also a continuation of a tabled item. Consideration to add assisted living as a use in CP 1, 2, and 3 commercial zones, ordinance 2022-5. And did you state that in your motion of the ordinance number 2022-10?
Okay, and if you're okay with me jumping in, I'm the presenter on this. So this is a continuation of our prior discussion, and this has kind of been evolving a little bit because we didn't realize there's somebody ready to put in an application if this goes through. And so they actually authorized us to include their materials in the packet, so you can see those. And it's actually for a CP2 down off of 89. One of the things, it is in a development area. The development agreement for this does call for commercial. Per our code, assisted living currently is included as commercial. So it does meet the outline in that. I don't know if that meets the intent of that, but just something to take into consideration. So we are working with the Planning Commission on updating the assisted living definitions and size requirements right now, and anticipate having something on the next Planning Commission agenda in May. And so before you this evening, I'd recommend, if you'd like to take an action, to look at the CP2, as the others will be coming back with all of it, or if you'd rather wait, that's an option before you as well, depending. But one of the things, because of the timing with the other improvements we're making, those would go hand in hand with the proposal that's coming forward, and so they'd still be subject to whatever those requirements are if you approve those. So I don't know if there's any questions for me this evening. One of the options that our planner brought up, Amber brought up as an option. So Planning Commission is recommending CP2 as permitted, but she brought up maybe having that modified to conditional, so that it does bring it forward to the Planning Commission for review.
The recommendation is to have it conditional in CP1, CP3, and CP2. And then Planning Commission is going to spell out what the conditions are.
So my recommendation, you can do it many different ways. So if you'd like to do all three of them, because we have that pending application for CP2, if you wanted to just address that this evening, to not hold them up, that is an option. Just the CP2, and then continue to table the CP1 and CP3 to go with the other. It's kind of up to you.
Is this property zone CP2 that they're looking at?
It's currently zoned CP2, yes. And they talked about maybe looking at a rezone for manufacturing if this doesn't go through.
As the intent has been declared of the conditions being set, they will be subjected to the conditions that Planning Commission.
Well, so the timeline will go hand in hand with, if they get their proposal in as they're hoping to, then the timeline, the others are going to be on the next Planning Commission agenda.
But
So
the intent has been declared, and so
they'll be subject to whatever's approved there. Yeah.
Amy, based on the map, it looks like we only have 2 CP2 areas. Am I missing any? There's just the one on.
3 last time we discussed this. Is that right? Or
The only one I can see is on 600.
Sorry, I should have brought my presentation because I had
600
my
and
count
2700.
on those last time.
And then the site in question. Those are the only 2 I can see. Am I missing anything?
Look really quick.
So the one off the 600, this one, and where's the other one? Or no, just the 2.
The 2.
I swear.
Yeah, I thought there were 3 of them.
Yeah, that was what we discussed last time. There's 3. But where's the 3rd?
And the 3 maps are a breakdown of the city, which is a little bit confusing. Yeah, I'm only seeing the 2 on the CP2s. Okay. So I think it's 3 on the CP3s maybe. It's very confusing with the CP1.
CP1 had 3 as well.
Yeah.
If we only do the CP2 as a motion, what does that mean for the ordinance? Is this a conditional thing that, because by doing this motion tonight for the ordinance 2022-5, what does that mean for that?
So with
How do
that,
we put that?
and let me look at that ordinance language really quickly. An excellent question.
Would the wording be a conditional?
I think you could just strike out of the ordinance the other 2. Let me look at that really quickly.
Strike out.
So we're adding assisted living, the proposals to add assisted living to CP1, 2, and 3, and we could just change it to adding assisted living to just the
CP2. Okay. And then if you wanted to do it as conditional or permitted, depending on your preference, conditional does bring that requirement forward for the planning commission review. Yes. Yep, it's in a CP2 and it hasn't been presented yet. And we're anticipating that with noticing, the others will be in place before that.
So if we permit it versus a conditional, what does that mean? I mean, what does that mean for the applicant? Go back to planning commission for conditional to put the
It
conditions
still
on?
does go to planning commission. I don't know, Amber, if you wanted to speak to it, but it's different in that there actually can be some conditions set versus permitted. It ultimately goes to planning commission based on our code.
So
But
permitted would open the gates to whatever,
They would be allowed to have that use there.
so conditions could be size of the facility
Oh,
or.
so for example, what the planning commission reviews is how does the conditional use affect, the adjacent properties? Is it compatible with the surrounding uses? Things like that. They can either approve or deny conditional use. Yeah. Yeah, just how it fits in with its surroundings. And so they can place conditions to mitigate certain impacts.
Permitted, we would, if we pass it as the ordinance as permitted use,
The use would be allowed to continue.
then they wouldn't, we couldn't put any
We couldn't
conditions.
deny the use. Yeah.
Okay.
If the commission finds that they can mitigate any of those, then it can go through as a conditional. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And so that will come back to us again after the planning commission or no?
No, just planning commission reviews conditional uses.
so if it's an allowed use in.
We wouldn't have a say in that really.
Will the planning commission bring those conditional uses to us in the beginning for the ordinance review?
They
In the
don't.
Beginning?
They don't.
They have final action on conditional uses.
And what sets the conditions?
The code has a list. They have 4 items that they review, and the first is this detrimental, does this
Okay.
harm, is it compatible, does it meet
Well, they
such
can
and
set
such?
conditions within those categories such as setbacks.
Yeah. Things to mitigate,
Landscaping.
building materials, having it compatible with, that's more of like a site review, but
Neighboring properties.
screening, things like that, they can require screening if it's next to a residential zone or things like that.
I don't have a concern of making it permitted like that, but we would have to make sure that we're willing to allow that in the CP2 that's on 2700 right now. If we want to go, which I don't necessarily think that's a terrible place to put that, but it could happen as soon as we do this, right? That's all.
That's the risk. So I
And I
would
have
feel
to
better with
re-comment. I misspoke because I didn't realize, and I should have realized, but it doesn't come on to you as a council again. So it would just go to the planning commission because I was thinking we could put it with the ordinance amendments, but it wouldn't. And so with that too, I think just to take into consideration, and it's listed in the memo, but what's being proposed is 100 units with 18 dedicated to memory care and lots of outdoor features, amenities, and open spaces for the guests. So just something to keep in mind. And again, you're not approving that project, but
Yeah, that's a great place, great project.
So what is the thought then, just allow it as a conditional use?
Let's have a motion. Let's have a motion.
At the same time, weren't we going to look at rezoning one of those areas as C1? Wasn't that a conversation we were having?
so we will be bringing back consideration of C1, C2, which are currently allowable uses. Manufacturing is allowed, but we're not really delving into that too much. And then A5 is also another area in the city where it's allowed at this time. And then just to further define what assisted living is, our code addresses assisted living, nursing homes, and to kind of group those together. One of the other code examples we found that's really nice has 3 different intensity definitions. So depending on where somebody's putting it, if it's abutting a neighborhood property or then you can have this lower intensity or just basically to adjust based on the location of where it's going.
Planning Commission brought A5 last week as introduced it to show the vested interest of the city to look at that and
Yeah, and so there's kind of a lot to it, and I appreciated the sentiments of the council before because I think that there is a good value in looking at this holistically, and there is a need for these services and how we want to approach this in the city. So This one, again, there's just kind of a rush with a pending application, but that doesn't mean you have to or don't have to address that. It's just based on your preference at this time.
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion that we add assisted living to CP2 with conditional uses and adopt ordinance 2022-5.
We have a motion by Ann.
I'll second that motion. I do have a question, so does CP1 and CP3 just remain tabled?
They're going to remain tabled at this time, and then we'll bring those back.
Do you need me to make that part of the motion?
That would be helpful.
Okay, and so to extend my motion, continuation of tabled items on CP1 and CP3. Okay.
So, Debbie, you clear with what we want? With what the motion?
CP2 as a conditional.
Because you have to put it down. Okay. Just want to make sure. Well, we have to kind of carry her along a little bit. I get it.
Two newbies here, and I don't know if this is.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So this is an ordinance, so roll call again. Harrington.
Yes.
Gibson, yes. Marriott.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Curie.
Yes.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Passes with the changes. All right. Item number 6, 1000 West improvements. Consideration to allow the city to go out to bid for street improvements located at 1000 West for the conversion from a one-way to two-way street. Amy.
Okay, you get me again. So this is ultimately the option to go out to bid in coordination with SunPro. We're looking at improvements on 1000 West for that two-way conversion. And so the city will be doing a portion of it. SunPro will be doing a portion of it, but we need to go out to bid in order to get started on that. We will be having before you an escrow agreement that will be coming forward in the coming weeks.
There's not any information you talk about.
Got to bid?
No, it's just the option to go out to bid.
Tyson, you're got that all arranged, or is that going through Dana? Who's putting the packet together? Okay.
Yeah,
So is there a design that we can look at? Because I don't think we should go to bid unless we really have a solid design that we want to do.
and we do have the design that was approved with the site plan on the roadway improvements. Huh? Yeah. Yeah.
I remember talking about, especially where the 2550 comes in.
Yeah, it's still not perfect with where that kind of concrete triangle is, but that's on our list.
It's going to be a mess that end. I don't know. Hopefully it works out. Anyway, any other questions? I'd entertain a motion to approve the bid.
I'll make a motion that we go out to bid for street improvements located at 1000 West for conversion from one-way to two-way.
Motion? Ann? Phil? Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ann was the first, Phil was the second. Okay, item number 7, vehicle surplus. Consideration of surplus of Public Works Department Dodge truck. Tyson.
This is the brown truck, Tyson.
Not the brown one.
Okay.
One of the older Dodges. It's running at that 105,000 miles, and then on top of just the service issues, it lost the part in the tranny that is going to be rather expensive. I didn't get the full cost estimate for that just yet, but this was already on our surplus plan to replace under this current budget. So I'm just trying to get ahead of it until we we'll go do the purchasing separately. But with this one, we were hoping to put it out front and just and sell it instead of taking it to T&T auction. In full disclosure, we've had a couple of staff interested in it for parts, basically, and we would still build out all the known issues we have, and like the police do the reverse bidding, where you set the deadlines and you take in sealed
sealed
offers
bids,
and
okay.
put them on a single day and take the highest bid. That just gives the staff a fair shake as anybody else. So we figure it's worth giving them that option where it was one we were getting rid of.
Are we gonna put a minimum on it at all, or just
We
whatever
would
we
set
get?
a minimum. It
We would or wouldn't?
we would, and so for private trade-in or selling it privately in fair condition, it ranges from 7,000 to 9,700. And we'll have to look into those repair costs and factor that into that would then determine that minimum, which I don't think you'd want to say in here. So
What's the vehicle used for? And what was it used for?
one's been the shop runner. It's usually the one that goes and gets parts, and so he's been just borrowing.
It's just a bit normal pickup.
Pickups. Yeah.
Okay.
A quad cab.
What year is it?
08. 1500 quad cab. Standard 4-wheel drive with that 8-foot van.
Okay, entertain a motion. And
I'm on a roll.
Keep going. Keep going, Ann.
Interim Mayor, I would like to make a motion we consider surplusing the Public Works Department Dodge truck.
okay, Ann and Sarah, the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. Okay, Miss Sarah, get up and. No, just kidding. Item number 8, entertainment stage. Consideration to purchase an entertainment stage for the use at city events.
Okay, so we have brought this up in Founders Day meetings, and just a brief mention of what our intent is. Tyson did apply for 3 easy grants. One of them was for an entertainment stage. Where the little background on this is when we started having our entertainment up at Weaver High, we have used the stages from the county in the past, and actually we had a stage given to us by the theater department director up at Weaver High, but a previous administrative decision by previous administration tossed that thing, which is really sad. So we've been borrowing and renting from the county, but those stages are falling apart. So since we've moved our viewing area to this park, we are in need of a stage, and we would like to use the stage not just for Founders Day, but for food truck events, for our, flag ceremonies or dedication of the monument, or what have you. And Tyson and I have been doing some research and with the recommendations of Mark Daniels from Weaver High of where to look. And these stages cost you can spend a lot of money to not as much money, but as cheap as, $9,000 to $10,000 all the way considerably more. And so the one that we are looking at would run anywhere between 10 to 14. It would be portable, adjustable. You can break it down and store easy, and we can get you the information, but we would just like to do that. We have $2,000 from the Easy Grant, but also RAMP allocates monies to different municipalities within the county after the money has been awarded according to your population. And so Lori and Tyson and Cindy and Amy were able to, they talked with each other and thought that the use of funds that we got from the municipal awarded of $10,000 would be good towards this.
We have 10,000 from that and 2,000 from the Easy. So with options, because the one that we're looking at is from the Stage Depot, you can add to it, you can make it really, you can add railing later, you can add lights, you can do all these things, and whatever the council would desire in the future as far as events or things would be a good use of those funds. You can.
What size is it now? What size?
The size that we're looking at is 288 square feet. And so that's about.
I want to make sure it's big enough for a Garth Brooks concert.
Exactly, because you know,
Thank
he's on our
you.
list, he keeps adding more concerts, and so we thought we'd put in a plug, but we just, if it does go over the 10,000, we would have to look at the budget amendment only because of that amount, but we have the money within the budget to cover that.
Or is the stage collapsible? Like, is it gonna be
Yes.
storage easy kind of type thing?
We have pictures.
Pass that picture with,
Yes.
like in the card.
We haven't purchased anything, if Tyson wants to bring it up here, but it's industrial finish, it's collapsible. You can raise it to 4 feet in height or as small as 2 feet. So,
One that you showed it in that little cart thing.
and part of it can be, you know, raised and the other part, so it can be on uneven surfaces and.
The leg looks.
Yeah, tether a mule to it?
Yeah, I'm serious about the
Right,
concert.
this
I
is
think we would, yeah.
I don't
But,
think we
you
can
know,
tether mules anymore.
In conversations with Cindy with the food truck events, it kind of was a big hit last summer. We had live entertainment. So we're looking at more live entertainment at the food truck events, and, you know, we can always add to it. It's a good use of.
It all goes into a cart. I'm
It
not
does,
touching.
but pass this one.
I'm not good with paper today. I keep getting paper cuts, so. No, this is awesome.
I talked to Tyson and Sarah this morning before the meeting, and I think that they should dedicate a little trailer or something with kind of haul it around with some tie downs and things to put it on. We need some stairs, of course, to go on the side.
Does this come with stairs, this first?
If you choose, there's add-ons. This first one, we talked about it, so that's why we'd have to come back for a budget amendment if we added stairs.
I think, so I don't want to do the fancy stuff, but just get a basic thing that we can get up and down.
Yeah, we have to rent a stage, whether we like it or not, because now we're using this park for, you know, our Founder's Day free fireworks show and things like that, so.
What does it cost to rent a stage?
About $1,500 if we rent it from the county, but it's already booked for that day. But the ones that are falling apart that we get for free are literally falling apart, and they almost didn't let us use them last year.
What does it
because of
cost you in
safety
liability?
concerns. They wouldn't let us use them, but we convinced them that we could.
And one of the things, and I appreciate the proactivity with the ramp grants this year on the stage in this, and one of the discussions that I've had with the mayor is in the future, and I think probably in the, you know, late summer, early fall, we're going to come to the council. Let's have some dialogue on what projects you want us to apply for ramp funding for, and be a little bit more strategic and proactive in how we handle our ramp. And also if there's other grant opportunities so that we can kind of all be on the same page and do that. Because that's part of what this is too, is, you know, kind of that buy-in. But I think it's been great to have that proactivity on these.
100%. We have staff that, you know, the two other grants were, you know, offsets the cost of the cable webbing, whatever, but also the other one is for sales, for more shade over there at Barker Park Pavilion. But we haven't really utilized the opportunities that we have within our city for grants. There's a lot of grants that we could be applying for that we have not been applying for.
I don't think we were aware in the past, but I
Right.
think now that we're aware, we really need to.
And we don't have to do dollar for dollar matching. It can be volunteer hours as well. So.
And it'd be really nice to have you all be thinking about things that you'd like the city to apply for grants for, and keep those close to mind so that we can have that discussion and
Yeah, that
go in
sound system,
strategically.
I think
Can
that's
apply for that.
something we really ought to do.
What was it?
Sound system.
Oh, the sound system. Sorry,
On the ramp,
I didn't hear him. Like,
We
on
need,
the ramp
Big
applications that
idea.
we've been reviewing, that's been some
you
of
couldn't
those
hear
that
me without the
people have
sound system?
applied for.
oh, that's so good.
Well, I for one, I think we need to upgrade, and I've said that for the last 2 or 3 years. We need to get some good stuff here, you know, the tables and the warmers and things like that, because, and this kind of fits right in with that. I appreciate what Sarah and Tyson have done, for sure. And we'll utilize this for the next 20, 30 years, you know, well, maybe 5 or 10 years, whatever it
There's
is.
a warranty.
But, you know, if you came last year, last year was kind of the dry run for having it here, and we just desperately
It was a terrible
needed
stage.
it.
It was, that was.
And so I've encouraged Tyson to put the flagpole up and, you know, just get some stuff like that, and make this a nice place for our Founder's Day to
We
have
actually have the flagpole that's
So,
on the.
anyway,
Yeah.
So,
wow.
so this motion going to be to purchase this based
Well,
on a dollar
so the-
amount, or we have to
The
bring?
challenge is gonna be, we're gonna have to, notice a public hearing for the budget.
There likely will be a budget amendment because it is over 10,000, but we have the 10,000 in one grant, 2,000 in
Yeah,
another.
we do have the money, we just have to have a budget amendment
Yes.
to put those funds to dedicate.
So are we going to,
is there any action that needs to be
so is the
taken?
action to go forward? Or,
So,
or do we
yeah,
have
this
to?
is ultimately just, approval
just an
of getting the
information thing?
stage and kind of proceeding with that. It's kind of an approval of receipt of the RAM grant funds
Of
right
the,
now.
of the theory of
Yeah.
it, or but not
So
the
we-
approval of the purchase
so-
thereof?
With the approval of the council, we can order it come back with the amendment.
We can't order it until we have the amendment in place.
We just need a motion to approve
So,
moving
so
forward.
if you approve this and the stage costs less than $10,000, we could go forward. I talked with Laurie over
It's not
earlier on
going
the phone.
to.
Yeah, and so because I know, well, and honestly, you don't want to cheap out on the stage,
Well, no.
and so that's where we are gonna have to set the.
Well, and we don't want to spend money that we don't have
No,
allocated either.
Yeah, we'd be definitely
Most that
careful.
you were looking at would be 14,000.
Yeah, but just with the city ordinance, it does come to the council with
I'm
10,000.
ready.
So
If
Ready.
you want stairs and all
Wait.
those things, then
Wait,
that's what
clarif-
you're gonna look at.
To clarify what the cost is again, though, I'm
That's going to have to come forward before.
No, well, no, yeah, you don't know what the cost is?
No, we
Not
know
yet.
around what the cost is. It's about 14,000.
Around, but we have to get it itemized of what we want.
Yes, but that would include stairs. That would include.
I-
What we're approving today isn't the amount we're approving
No,
for
it's
them to go get the amount. come
support
back.
to move forward.
I would want to have a railing. I think a back railing is,
Yeah.
especially for 2 feet off the ground.
If you want the railing all around the thing, you would want 16. But if you want stairs,
16.
if
Oh my
you want
gosh.
railing all the way around.
Just add.
We can add the railing whenever, too.
Yes.
Okay.
The nice thing about this is, if you decide later on you want railing, you can add to it.
That's good.
For now, we can
I like that.
we can just put pillows around.
Yeah,
the
yeah, we
ground
can-
for
That'd be
people
good.
You know what? The
We can put
stages
some
from the
some
county,
Jersey
we never
barriers.
had-
Everyone bring a pillow to the concert.
We didn't have any
All right, Aaron,
railing
go
from
ahead.
the state.
All right, this motion might be clunky, so you might have to help me, but
I don't know, do we really want, I mean, if you can rent, if we're gonna use it once a year,
We,
can we?
We're going to need
No,
it
we're not
for,
gonna
we're
use it
going to need it
once a
for the Veterans Memorial. We can use it
we're gonna
for-
use it for food truck events. We're gonna use it for Pumpkin Palooza.
we might be able to advance to like art in the park and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
too.
mean, I think that's, yeah, I don't, spending the money is,
But
yeah,
rent it to North Ogden City for $2,000 a day.
There you go.
There you go.
Exactly.
I like.
We
the
do
one.
have the 12,000 in grant funding. Just
So we'd
So you
we'd
know.
have to come up with either 2 or 4 depending on what we do.
yes,
That's really what,
beyond what we
That's-
already have.
that's the, out
And
of
so
our.
that's
out of
where
our
I
fund.
think we can refine what the proposal is, bring that back with the budget amendment, and then you'll understand exactly what you're getting. This is just giving us the go-ahead to move forward with the
And there'll
getting
be
a
pretty
stage.
pictures and everything.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we give council approval to go ahead with the, what,
Give staff approval.
staff approval
To
to
get the, yeah, how are we wording this?
to bring the stage information forward.
Yeah, so
apply
I guess
ramp
it's very
grants.
similar to going
With
to
the
bid at
intent
this
of
point, yeah.
purchasing it.
There we go, with the intent to purchase. And the caveat that Dave Marriott clogs on the stage first. That's
I've
my
got-
motion.
I've got
With
that
Ann
written
Arrington.
down. Debbie, you got
Thank you for
that? Clogging.
Yes, plugging.
Okay, we have a first, we have a
I'll
motion.
Second that motion.
It's part of the
And-
motion, it's official.
Oh, yeah.
Ann and Sarah.
We need the rails if that's happening though.
Especially at my age.
Okay,
And the
let's
pillow.
stick with this. So we have a motion and a second. Ann and Sarah, all in favor?
I
Aye. Any opposed? No. Amy, do we need a closed meeting?
I don't have any items this evening.
Perfect. Let's start with Chief. Other business.
That'll be awesome.
Oh, thank you. Just a couple things of interest. Last month, we've had 2 cars stolen, Pleasant View. One, Steve, was on your street.
Yeah, the white Cherokee, I heard.
So we're getting a search warrant for Steve's garage.
Got 2 of them.
And then this past weekend, the truck, what was that truck business on the bottom of 2550? is a truck repair or truck. About 900 West, 2550 North Perkins. He was there working and had a vehicle running with the door open so he could hear the music while he's working in the middle of the afternoon. And some gal walks through the parking lot and he didn't think anything of it. And next thing he hears is his truck being driven off. And a short time later, it was actually discovered in North Ogden with this gal walking away from it up on 200 East in North Ogden. So officers were able to apprehend her, and she was a little out of it. And anyway, they made an arrest on that. And we recovered the vehicle a short time later. It all worked out pretty well.
We're still working on
that. Unfortunately, on Easter morning, we had a local suicide, which was sad. A 17-year-old boy ended his life, and that's always hard for family and officers and Easter, and I mean it's just bad situation all the way around. And our condolences to the family. We've worked with them, and we're doing what we can for them. Also, we were able to. We got our radar trailer out and running, and we have found out how to download traffic data information. And Stetson will give you a little something on that, but first I want to show you Plan B. This is a car vaporizer.
Anyone speeding, vaporize. Yes.
So what this is, our radar trailer does collect data and does give us good information. However, the only down part to that is the information it gets is when people see their speed, and then we'll slow down. So if we want to collect that data without them seeing their speed, that's what this is for. And it slides into a bracket, and the bracket is mounted to a pole, and it can be moved around very easily.
Wow.
So we can move this anywhere in the city and do traffic studies on any road anywhere. It gives us time of day, location, speeds.
So when that gets stolen, how are we going to find it?
Well,
hopefully it doesn't.
Hopefully it doesn't.
There's a GPS in it, so.
Is this something that we already own? Are we renting it, or?
It's on loaner right now, but I see a real need for one, and it is actually cheaper than buying a radar speed sign. So if we can move our sign around and collect data as well as
We'll have both tools.
out this, it's the best of both worlds.
They don't have to be together, right? They're independent, right?
This will do high speeds, low speeds, average speeds, what we call tolerated speeds. So speed limit's 25. We'll put 30, and there's a tolerated speed. So it'll calculate speeds. If you're 80.
Tolerated at 30, then 35 is acceptable.
No. Bail schedule is. We don't mess with you at 35, so or 5 over.
So Chief, is it registered the exact speed they're going, or that it's just over that?
Exact speed.
Okay, and direction they're going?
Well, we'll know because
Okay.
of the side of the street.
I see. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's great.
So number of cars, you can put down how many cars will last 15 minutes, how many cars last 24 hours. We put our radar trailer on.
Yeah.
Love
so
that.
We
With the
put our
data,
radar
then we can
trailer on
strategically
1100 West.
That's awesome.
We put our radar trailer on 1100 West yesterday, and this surprised me, but in about 24-hour period, there are 1,350 cars.
Wow.
down below
1100 West.
It's
So-
right down there, right before you get to the highway.
It'll give you the average speed, the highest speed. So we collected some data on that. And Stetson and Tony, they're my go-to guys for all these fun projects. So I'm gonna let Stetson tell you just a little bit more about it.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I'm sure you guys as council members probably hear all the time, somebody's speeding down my road, or there's a lot of speeding, and we do the best we can to try to manage that and deal with that. The couple concerns, one, that if a cop's sitting on the road, people don't speed. Like up on 4050, that's been a lot of complaints up there. We put that sign up there that flashes. Well, now the people are saying, well, people don't care about that sign, so this thing here is kind of a way for us figure out where the problems are without people knowing that we're looking in that area.
I'm gonna join you. I love that.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
like for example, the information that you get down on 1100, we put that there yesterday. And the trailer has kind of one of these in it. It's in the trailer though, you can't take it out of the trailer. That's why we want to get one of those. But the data just in the last 24 hours, it tells us how many cars went. There was 1,350 something cars. Gives you the percentile of how many were. So basically, we set it up. The speed limit's 25. The tolerated speed is 7 miles an hour over. So basically, for most of the cops, if you're going 7 miles an hour over, they're not going to take their time to stop you because somebody's going to be going by at 10, 12 over that you're going to miss while you're talking to somebody going 7. So we set it at 25. The tolerated speed is 32. So in the last, and I'm just going off the top of my head, and I have it printed out if you want to look at it later, but so like it shows there was 1,350 cars. How many were going over the tolerated speed? It shows you their high speed. So which was interesting on that. One, I was surprised at how many cars went down there. Two, there was like 52% that were going above the tolerated speed. So 52% were over 32. However, it's interesting, the high speed was 40. So nobody was going over 40, which was really interesting. I was really thinking your high speed, with that many speeding, you were going to be 50, 55 coming down through there, but the high speed, yeah, so the fastest car was at 40. And then it'll just show you how many percentage of cars were going above the speed limit, how many below. It shows, the only thing that it can't do is it doesn't count axles. So you can't say, well, there was this many dump trucks that came down. You know those strips you see across the road? They're the only ones that can do those axles, and that's that. But they, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a really good tool for us to have. I feel like it's a better investment than those signs, because the signs, you just put them on one spot and they're there. We can move this around really easy and use it. Yeah. Well, like 1100, for example, I don't know which one of you guys are getting the complaints on there.
A lot.
But it's like, we go down there and we never get nothing. Like very few tickets, So I'm kind of thinking, God, is there really a problem down there? Well, now after watching today, there kind of is, but there kind of isn't. Like the fastest car in 24 hours was 40 miles an hour, right before you get to the highway.
Between Mount Orchard and Highway 89.
And that's where this was.
Yep.
No, not this, our trailer.
Yeah.
The trailer. So it's showing them their speed, and what I'm excited about is like next we're gonna leave it there for a week, and then we'll use this somewhere for a week. I'm curious to see if the trailer gets people going slower. So next week we're showing a higher percentage within the speed limit versus this being somewhere and they stay the same.
You send us an email.
And even though
with some of that
the
info
highest-
as it
Yeah,
comes
I
in.
can print it and give it to you anytime you want. Just call me or
Okay.
I can email it to you. And it's all out on a spreadsheet. It's pretty cool.
You can email it first and then just have it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we just got this going yesterday.
And,
Even though the highest speed was 40, there's only 2 vehicles out of 1,350 that did 40.
Did 40. The rest of them
But
were-
50% of them were between 32 and 40 miles an hour, right? That's what you're saying. I don't know. It just seems like they just speed limit on my street.
That's why they do those traffic studies. They do an 85 percentile.
It does. It tells you the 85 percentile too.
But it is residential, so that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we have all these streets with slope on them, right? And the residential, and yeah,
I'd be really curious what 600 West would be. I get a lot of people saying we need to up the speed limit there.
I kind of agree with that because and I'll bet you'll find the same thing, right? It's not really a high speed. But
Everybody doing 5 to 10 over.
But I would be interested though, because the signs definitely make me, especially the lit
do.
signs, they make me aware. Because sometimes I'll be coming along, oh wow, I didn't really
Yeah.
realize that. But so I'd like to see the same time frame, same day or whatever, to see if that speed is up to 50.
It's
Yeah,
kind
you
of
can
best
break
of
it right
both
down to
worlds
15
having
minutes.
this.
You can break it right down to
Well,
15 minutes.
but if you've had one that illuminates the speed, and then if that's gone, I'd love to see how that compares.
so could we do the study on that street and take the trailer away, leave it away for a couple weeks, and then put this one there.
Oh my gosh.
Study. What
Study's
did
free.
Jesus say?
Oh my gosh.
Let the record reflect.
Debbie, make a note that Steve Gibson approved of some study. Oh my gosh. I
This is
feel
historic.
horrible. I feel dirty.
Does anyone have cake?
But yeah, anytime you
Strike that off
guys
the public record.
have questions on it, just shoot me an email or something, and we'll get it out there. I'm really excited for it because then when people complain, we can actually go to them and say, hey, you know what? We appreciate the calls. There is a problem down there, or not. You know.
I love that.
This is a good.
I was just gonna throw out, I was in St. George last weekend and they had some of
Good
those
place for a study.
speeding signs that had like red and blue lights that flash.
Ours
like
does that.
officer lights, you know?
So what I do is I set it up to so the tolerant speed is to 32. And then from 32 to like 35 or 37, it will flash a light. 37, once you get over 37, it doesn't show your speed anymore. It starts flashing too fast. It says the words too fast
Really?
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it starts flashing them. And then there's a strobe. There's a strobe, like if you're going over 40, there's a strobe that
Goes across it.
and which is funny because some people think that strobe takes a picture of your car and says,
Good. Think that.
Yeah.
Thanks, you
Steve,
guys.
anything else?
No.
Tyson.
That's really cool.
The biggest new news is Jeff Strand's leaving us after 18 plus years.
You're retiring, Tyson?
Yeah.
Retiring.
Together to commemorate that and all that he's done for the city for all those years and all his snow plowing hours and everything in between. So he's our main street sweeper and so that department will be down to the one direct Gage Taylor. So we're still working on hiring that superintendent position and then we'll get posting for Jeff's. So
Last day.
Will you let us know?
March?
sorry, May.
We'll take March.
Will you let us know when you're having that thing so we can?
yeah,
Yeah, we'll try to get that out. And, so,
Need any help with like a little invitation or something like that?
Sure.
no, yeah, we'll make sure they know and see who shows up. So, yeah, and then more subdivisions going and been on a few of the water use calls and just trying to keep up on those, and there hasn't been a terrible amount. I think most people are getting it. Luckily, you're seeing a lot of people doing your zero-scape and drip systems just proactively. A lot of that area up in Piercrest, most of them are doing their whole fronts of zero-scape, so I don't think you're going to have pushback, and I think most people get where we're at this point. So.
Good, because I mean, we always recommend still do water and for Rotary number one. And that's
One a week
the
is
last I saw was two.
River Basin was recommended one.
But what about Pine View?
Yeah,
They'll be separate.
no watering until May, obviously, but I think if the rotary is 40 minutes and then the pop-up's 20 minutes.
once a week, right?
Pine View and Weaver Basin are sort of same.
They're the same,
They
but
run
they're
pretty
different.
similar. They're quasi-government.
Well, Weaver Basin will be their own. Pine View will have
Pine
their
View
own.
is
Yes, the one you would want to push anybody to or info to is
Go to
Pine View
Pine View.
Water System.
That's
That's
serve.utah.gov. I don't even know what it's saying 40 minutes for rotaries. Anyways, I just want to be able to give what we're supposed to do.
I think it's different regions too, because I know it's like St. George and stuff. They're saying two, right?
Yeah, Pine View says
Yeah.
limit watering of turf and landscaping to twice weekly. You're right, Phil. One watering is equal to 20 minutes for pop-up beds and 40 minutes for rotary. No watering between 10 and 6.
Well, the best thing for us directly is pushing your
At least for
house,
now.
your home bids and your culinary water not to be used outside is the main push. And then anything about irrigation.
Well, that's not allowed.
Yes, it's by ordinance, they're not supposed to be using culinary water for that anyway, so. And it's always been that way, that isn't a new. So, but where they're turning on later, yeah, you're starting to get the.
Well, don't take the snowplows off yet, because we're still praying for rain and snow.
Supposed to have a storm the next couple of days.
We got that last one by taking off the 3. We were gonna, we needed one for CDL testing. Bryce Grimes, the newest, is working on his CDL, so we took it off.
Hey,
Bob
but
needed
see,
to get the parts
if you
ready,
pray
so
for
we took
pray
the-
for rain, Tyson, you bring an
Yeah.
umbrella.
So
If you take that off, then
yeah.
then you're not.
No.
We talked about taking them all off, but we figured in the 30 minutes, the one storm, if we did it and had to put plows back on, we'd really hear that. And
How do our wells look right now?
they're still trending down. You usually would have seen a significant spike by now, and the springs are just starting to trend up, and that's when you start to see your wells up because they stop turning on as supplementing the springs. So this is supposed to be the wells break season, and it's not really happening. But they're still up overall from 7 years ago, so not
We
good,
still
but
need to
it's not
conserve.
dire. Yes, you still need to conserve and
Scares me to death to
continue
run
to
out.
do that.
For sure.
Getting rid of we haven't put any of the data together, but getting rid of that big section of Pleasant View Drive and that old iron mechanical joint main on the whole west side of town should have eliminated a significant amount. The galvanized services out there, that's where all the leaks you find, or if you're out that way, you're on that main or those services, and they're all removed now with that.
We just doubled the water.
Will absolutely help. Maybe not quite double, but it all adds up eventually. So,
No.
What's the best way for us to know how much water we're using? Are there meters accurate enough that we can tell, is there a way to get a daily usage, or?
if you have that ion water, you can get it. I think it goes down to 5-minute or 15-minute increments. I don't know if you have one of those or not.
Yeah, I'm sure I do, but I don't.
They'll have the little.
You mean the city or you personally?
City water.
Oh yeah, we.
No, my
your
water meter has the new.
So if you download Ion Water, and we have brochures and all that, it'll show you how to sign up, and you can set usage alerts for your own your personal usage. So like my home, and I have mine set at 6,000, and I get an alert at 5,000, and then you start tuning kids out and cut off maps.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
on
only
ours. So almost 800 people in the city could be on Ion Water and have that tool.
Yeah,
Is that an average use, about 5,000, 6,000?
Yeah, for family of 5, 6, you should be right about in that 5,000 to 6,000 gallons. Depending on habits. You'll see some that are closer to 10.
I just think once
Probably take a lot of math.
if you can measure it, you can improve it. But if you can't measure it,
Yeah.
you're not gonna know, right? So
Yeah, and if you're really lucky, like I've asked Pineview to come put a meter, because I try to be pretty conservative at home and zero-scape most of my front yard, but I'd love to have a meter, because that when they've added it and the data they show in the areas, the older bench areas where they added meters to the existing secondary, the usage numbers were it's crazy how much water people just dump when they think it's unmetered, and I'm paying for it, and so I'll use it whenever I feel like, and most of that's just flooding down the street or going to waste, and without that meter you'll never stop that.
Tyson, how much does the meter cost? And what would it cost us if we did all the rest of the meters in Pleasant View, that kind of thing? I
I could put it together pretty quick, but the original package was like $1 million, which is why we opted to do a
Redevelopment.
program.
I don't want to prolong this discussion, but you all passed a joint proclamation that ended in November about culinary water being used outdoors. Do we actually have that ended in November? Do we have an ordinance that prohibits that? Sometimes finding
We do, yeah. So our ordinance prohibits it entirely, but the proclamation was put into effect because we were concerned with people utilizing when time use shut off early or outdoor, and so just to really set some clear guidelines.
Didn't want anybody open the hole.
But to your point, Phil, and this is, I appreciate Tyson being so proactive on this. We are having discussions and are hoping to bring back a proposal that's more of a long-term solution to drought management. Because right now, our ordinance doesn't completely address that, and it's really a tricky thing. And I was just at the city managers conference last week, and the secondary water issue came up, but because we don't have control of when the secondary turns on and off, I mean, they could completely turn off for the entire season, and then we'd be really stuck. And so, really coming up with some ideas and some solutions. I think Tyson's really awesome to have at the helm to help us with that. So, good question. So,
And in the culinary one, it gets into, if you wanted to get into the scarcity of water, you can start restricting the people that do use ours for irrigation. So if they start shutting down, you can start to do in-house stuff just to stop that in the times of scarcity of water. Yes. We're at 0, so we'll be okay. Yeah. But yeah, it's that bad that they're telling their culinary that
Inside use, yeah. What's available.
mandating it. So
like we have a scarcity of water provision code that just says the mayor shall by proclamation limit the use of water to such extent as may be necessary.
That's pretty broad.
Okay, let's move on. You got anything else?
Nope.
Timmy,
no, nothing this evening.
we don't want anything from Debbie, so let's move on.
Oh.
I was been thinking the whole time. I wanted to say I'm the one getting the phone calls. My neighbor is using it.
Really?
Have you been getting a lot of phone calls?
Really?
Thank you.
That's my biggest concern. It's just the messaging behind that. What shouldn't we do, but also let's not hurt each other.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, and there was actually one that I did a work order just to go check on it because their water usage went through the roof last month. I had the guys check if this meter reading correct. It was, and not leaking. And I'm like, okay, it'll be normal next month. And then this month it was just a little bit less than I thought. It's huge.
Oh, have you looked
So
at
I don't
that?
know what the deal was. I haven't heard that. It just barely happened.
So those ones, the utility guys would just go out because we're all getting them. It's not any one individual. Everybody's getting them. People that have our numbers text us, call us, but if they end up in work orders, and we just go up and try to meet with them and do it in a manner that, hey, this, we can tell most of them have sort of acted like they don't know what you're talking about. It's obviously not happening, but I think most of them, you've noticed a drop, usually just saying, hey, we can tell you're doing it, we've been alerted, we can see from your meter reading, it's happening. Those are illegal cross connections, because if you're hooking it up to your hose to irrigation, that's a cross connection concern.
So is there
All other
anything that we
ordinance.
can do? I mean, once, let's try to work together twice. Shame on you. Third time, they cut the water. I mean,
Yeah.
what do we do for that?
We got an ordinance here on your screen right now. But once they're notified, if they continue to practice resulting in needless waste of water, then it's referred to a governing body, which the governing body can then terminate their access.
You all are the
Culinary
governing
water?
body. Yeah, so it would come to you all, and it's quite a complex process, and rightfully so, to shut off somebody's culinary water, but it is something that, you know, worst case scenario is an option.
So
If they have meters though, and we can tell how much they're using, it could be like punitive about a certain amount, right? Or
well, you guys
this
would
is
decide that.
right. This would be their average usage over a year, and or our average in the city, and then we say it's above that. I don't know. I think there's ways you could do it.
Really serious
Come up with some
circumstance.
ways, and even your tier system. So
Yeah,
one
thresholds.
thing I would bring up again is you should have one more tier. They fought it off back in the beginning, but it should absolutely be there because your last tier, I think, is 25,000 gallons. If you're using 25,000 gallons in a residential home, you're not doing it right. Like you either got leaks, you shouldn't be doing it. And we have people in that range above that, and they kind of tap out, and you should have a gross misuser tier. And it was even recommended back with our original tier study when conservation efforts were put out 10, 15 years ago, and they voted it off at the time, and now you need it more than ever. And so you
Well,
do have a tier.
let's maybe recommend staff look at that. Because
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
even a proclamation is, to say, listen, we all have to pull together here, and in order for us to all have a drink of water, we got to be careful. So and maybe we can look at something like that, adding a tier of waste, because like the punitive damages is, I don't know if we can shut off someone's drinking
Well,
ability.
it's incredibly complex. It's not an easy thing. It's not, and you have to work with the health department. No,
It's nothing you want to do.
Yeah,
No,
so
no.
let's direct staff and let's move on. Let's
Water all
yeah, we
day.
can
I
have
know,
water.
right?
All night.
Amy, let's bring something back. I
Yeah.
like a proclamation. I think putting that out to let them know, hey, we've got to pull together during this thing. I think most people, probably 99% of the people get it. It's that 1% that is not good. So
And I heard just today they were talking about, if it was an easy thing, that we would have done it all by now, right? We would have figured out how to save it, but it's going to take multiple efforts to figure out how to reduce water, and there's probably lots
we'll
of
look at
little ways.
Pineview Dam and you just think, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
this time of the year. Anyway,
I think the key one to remember, just for future in all departments, at least for public works at this time, it's also a time management thing. The time and the people you have to deal with that type of stuff. If you have to take those things to the next level, that means you're not doing, anything.
let's hope everybody gets along. Let's hope we have some snow. If you leave the snowplows on, we'll be okay. Phil,
Thank you.
and
Just briefly, Sarah, Amy, and I are going to meet with Dana this next Monday on this pickleball. Yeah, here's a little bit of a rendering there, and we're just getting really excited about it. So,
Is that the master chord on the end there?
yep. And here's our existing, and this will be the championship court, and then it's going to be really cool. So, anyway, we'll meet Monday, and we're excited. Yeah.
we're gonna have a groundbreaking or what?
Oh, for sure we will. It's probably not going to happen until next spring, but we're going to start.
What?
I know, it's okay.
Do you have room for the stage around the?
Yeah, we'll have a stage.
Yes, we'll have a stage. Perfect. Yeah, that's all I got.
Getting more private funding, so that's awesome.
We've had such great donations and community support. It's been amazing.
I went down to Moab last week. Not one pickleball court in all of Moab.
Who goes to Moab? Who goes to Moab though to play pickleball?
I went. I was tired. We went on a ride. And he said, "Let's go play pickleball." And the high school, they had chalk lined pickleball court, and they had their own nets they'd bring. That's it. They had a couple with that portable nets inside in the school,
Oh, yeah.
but not one pickleball. And the city had it before them last year, and they denied it. So I thought,
And have the same community support. that we have.
yes. Anyway, Sarah.
We've been meeting with about A5 defensive house overlay. That's going to be coming soon. Yeah, just events. I don't know if you've been noticing that we've created events on social media for everybody to share with all of our food trucks and for Founders Day, and Weekend Park, and all of our tournaments. Everything. Okay.
Just one quick thing about parade. We did get the Grand Marshal has accepted a couple. One of the honorary Grand Marshals has declined. One of the two that we and I can understand. I can understand why. Judy Sherman, but I would like to talk to you a little more tonight about my list here, just confidentially before we make that next decision. So anyway, that's all I have.
And I did get those frames ordered.
Oh, good.
So the third,
we'll need to get the letters out. I'll talk with Heather on that, but get the letters out to the Grand Marshals real soon. So
May 3rd is our next Founders Day meeting, and I would like to have it be short and sweet and just talk about what we need to do. So hopefully you've got the names and the things for the volunteers to Ann, so we can get that put together. And then let's just discuss the things that we need to do. I don't want to go over it all again because we really know that, but just let's come prepared with this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do, or what we need, and solve some problems.
But has the newsletter gone out now? Not quite.
yeah, I'm curious
Monday.
to see the response on the bike parade. So
I'm curious to see the response on volunteers too. If not, I'm gonna start calling people. But yeah, okay. So Monday.
So just a heads up that what it will look like.
Yeah.
What you see on the door is one side. On the other side, it will have like if there's pickleball around the pickleball logo. Sign up here. It will have
awesome.
This sign up here. All the links. That's why we ask for the links ahead of time. And
Good.
if there's more information, to click on that link to take you to more because there's only so much room.
Yeah. So this will be kind of just a teaser, and then the 1st of June we'll have the full
Everything
spread. So. And everything else, everybody else okay?
Huge shout out to Heather on all of her efforts.
Oh,
Bless her heart.
Cindy's been doing great too. It's been so.
Okay, entertain a motion. Quick.
I'll make a motion.
And come on.
We close our meeting.
I'll second.
Oh.
No, you had it.
But Sarah, up to it.
First and seconds all night.
Okay, so next time, step up.
And then Sarah, everybody else says step up. Thank you, everybody. All in
For your
favor?
interest, we will be in contact with you. Appreciate that.
Thanks for sticking it out.
No.
We need to give you a medal. No. Because she called me, actually. I was going to talk to Dave. I would love to. That's such an honor. And she said, what do I need? I need to ride a bike.